Hola, from the west side. Can you turn it down somewhere? It's me, DCThePurpleDiva. Welcome to Not So Random Chat. Happy Thursday, y'all. Hey, Maria. Okay, Maria, send it to me. Happy Thursday. There's a lot going on, huh? A lot going on, y'all. But I'm going to talk about a funny story first before I talk about anything else. It's a more, I don't believe this. So, I live in California, and I'm from Washington, D.C. And there's one of the YouTubers, I think her name is Peach McIntyre. And she had a video that came up in my recommendation. So I went and took a look at it because the video was talking about touring an apartment in the projects. So, she starts the tour and everything. And let me start off by saying that these were the projects in Florida. Okay, let's start there. Okay, so she starts in the property, into the house. They've got a foyer, they've got a huge living room, a dining area, dishwasher in the kitchen, and then she goes on talking about how I guess she's talking about things that they do in this house, talking about they don't use the dishwasher to wash the dishes. They wash the dishes, hand wash. Well, I hand wash mine too. I have a dishwasher, but unless it's a huge amount of dishes, I'm not putting them in the dishwasher. That's just a waste of water. But I do run the dishwasher on the regular. Hey, Tatted Hearts. I do run the dishwasher on the regular because if you don't run them, then they stop working. So they had a dishwasher, and she talked about this. Then she talked about other stuff in the kitchen, some southern stuff. And then, now keep in mind, this is a quote unquote project apartment, and it's a 2-bedroom apartment. Then she walks into a laundry room inside of the apartment that includes a washer and dryer. And I mean, the laundry room inside this apartment is probably bigger than some of us who actually, if you own a home and have a little laundry room in your house. This is the projects in, I think it was in Tampa, Florida. I've never seen any projects that look like that. Not in those cities in the Northeast or the Midwest or on the West Coast. When you look at what project housing, quote unquote, looks like, it all kind of looks the same across the country, except for in Florida. Because I've never been, I don't know of any other projects that have a laundry room inside of your 2-bedroom air-conditioned apartment. Oh, and you have central heat too. But it doesn't really get cold, I guess, like that in Tampa. It just surprised me. Oh, you're used to the old one. It surprised me. I've never seen projects that look like that. The projects in Florida are not like the projects in the rest of the country, y'all. Those folks in those projects would not last in projects in DC, in New York, in Chicago, in Detroit, in LA. They wouldn't last in none of those. Because apparently they have luxury projects, low, and I would say low income housing in Florida. It was a shocker to me. So that was my funny story, because I'm like, I've never, of course I didn't grow up in the projects, but I know what the projects look like. Most people do. Or at least we know what we've seen of them, I had friends that lived in projects, so I knew what they looked like. And, typically the ones that I know, be these little, like, either they're the townhouses, which I've seen in California and in DC, or, stacked up apartments like you see someplace like New York or Chicago or Boston. But it was just funny to see. It was funny to see that, and she had a lot of personality. So she was funny to watch. She was funny to watch. So you guys know that apparently there's more stuff going on with our friend Nick Cannon. And, I talked about this. Everyone feels like he made anti-Semitic comments. I didn't actually hear him make any comments that I felt were anti-Semitic. He just was talking about the history, and yet everyone who has talked about him making anti-Semitic comments are saying he needs to know the history. And see, here's the thing. No one is disputing anything that ever happened to the Jews, the people that practice Judaism today. No one's even having an issue with that. What the issue is that he told the truth about them not being the same people that are in the Bible. But don't we all know that? Hey, Uppity. Hey, Darren. I mean, don't we all know that? Don't we all know that those aren't the people in the Old Testament? And that's what the issue is. That's pretty much what he was saying. And see, Nick Cannon had powerful platforms. He said that on his YouTube platform. And because he had ties with these companies, which, I told you guys yesterday, he's going to be in court with them. He's not going to go down without fighting to get the rights back to all of his TV programming. And, I don't know if them doing this to him is going to come out the way that Viacom wants it to come out for them, because it comes down to the same thing. Everybody's fine. Everybody's fine about Black people being talked about. They can talk about us like we are dogs. They do not have any respect for the real meaning of what most of us are talking about when we say that Black lives matter. We mean that Black lives matter too. But if someone says something that disagrees with what other people are telling us about the Jews of today versus the Jews of the Bible, it becomes a problem. But the truth is the truth. I mean, I respect the fact that you are practicing a religion that is thousands of years, old. But that religion did originate on the continent of Africa. It did. And the people who first were part of that religion were people of color with highly melanated skin. It is what it is. Hey, Matt. I didn't see you come in. So, but I think that Nick is even stepping away from the Masked Singer. I think, they're trying to, make him kind of a scapegoat. And I think he wants to maybe remove himself from being a distraction. And then I saw on somebody else's YouTube page that now he has apologized. So I'm confused, because here's the thing. Saying I'm sorry is not an apology. As my sis Uppity Unicorn pointed out in her live. An apology is an explanation for what you did. And saying I apologize and explaining, I apologize for your feelings is not the same as saying I'm sorry. Because I don't think he's sorry for what he said. So why would he say that? But he apologizes, I guess, for how his comments may have made a certain group of people feel. Maybe that's what he's doing. That he is acknowledging their feelings. But, it's going to be a sticking point. I think it's going to be a sticking point. And I do believe that it was the association with Tariq Nasheed that, took him down this path. But I'd rather, deal with a woke Nick Cannon who is, basically putting his money where his mouth is. I'd rather deal with that. Meanwhile, in other news, my hometown team is changing their name because it offends some Native Americans. And it's going to be interesting. Some people think that they may keep the red and change it to, something in regards to the Tuskegee Airmen. That's one of the things floating out there. Red tails. That would be interesting. Because then that would be the first football team that would be using, black people is the reference, specifically black men, because as far as I know, there were no women fighters among the Tuskegee Airmen. That's what some people. That's what rumor has. That's what rumor has it. Is that's what they may change their name to. And you know, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, here's my only issue. My only issue is that this is all coming up in the middle of all of this stuff that's focusing on us as Black people. And there's many Native Americans that didn't have a problem with it. I do have Native blood in my family, you know, through my parents. And I do think that it is a derogatory term, but I would not put it on the same level as the N-word. And the reason why is because even though there has been a lot of disparity against Native Americans, there's also been a lot of reparations to them, and there continues to be. I told you guys, you know, about that stuff, and I think it was in Darren's stream that it was either in Darren's stream or it was in Cass Life. No, it was in the Cass Life stream where she showed how there's a bunch of money out of all of the stimulus money that's been floating around and everything that's going to Native Americans. Specifically, you know, to the tribes that actually have the Native American land. I think it's something crazy like $300 million or something. So that's one of my things is that, you know, the only group in this country who have never been treated fairly, nor have ever gotten reparations, not that I think it's going to ever happen, it's Black people in this country. And I would even go further to say that it probably is true of Black people who were, you know, ancestors were sold off into slavery, and they are, you know, native to countries outside of the continent. But I think the worst atrocity happened to our ancestors. And, you know, I think people are finally not thinking that we should just get over it. You know, because what did trying to get over it do to us? It just kept happening because then they figured we didn't care. So yeah, the Washington Redskins are in the process of changing their name. They will no longer be referred to as that, which means that all of my gear is now collector's items. And any other gear that's out there. I got a jacket, I got a sweatshirt, I got multiple things around here. So, you know, and they're one of the oldest teams in the NFL. So now I just want to see what's going to happen with other teams that have Native references in their team names or nicknames. Let's just see what happens, you know? Let's just see what happens with everybody else, you know? But yes, I believe they've been after the Redskins for years and years and years to change the name. For years, you know, and corporate pressure is what has, you know, caused them to change the name. And that's probably the only thing that would have made them change the name, because I honestly don't think that the majority owner of the team would have changed the name for any other reason. He's changing the name because a minority owner, you know, the chairman of FedEx, who, puts their logo on the stadium that the Redskins play in, it's a bad look for them. So it's a corporate move. So, he's changing it for corporate pressure. So even though they're getting him to change the name, he's not changing the name because he thinks it's offensive. Hey, misunderstood. I don't think he thinks it's offensive. I don't. I hate that this is coming up in the middle of everything that's going on in regards to Black people in this country, because I think that it's a distraction. So whatever they're going to do it quickly so that this can get out of the limelight, because nobody wants to be talking about a sports team with an offensive name that has nothing to do with Black people. And as I said, I'm part Native American, but I'm more Black than Native American. I promise you. I don't have enough in me to have gone to college for free. My parents, however, could have, but they were very smart individuals, so they got scholarships to college, so they didn't have to claim that card. They didn't even have to claim the card, which is good for them. Yep. Stop them keeping slaves. Exactly. That's the thing. People don't talk about that. People do not talk about the fact that natives enslaved Black Americans too. Some of us were their slaves. Don't think that every one of us who has Native in our blood, it's because it was a love situation. No, some of them were enslaved. And then their children were the ones who were treated more like Native, as they blended into our blood. So there's so many different peoples that did, that put our ancestors and the rest in the diaspora's ancestors into slavery, but for the most part, we blame it on England for us that are here in America, because most of us, our ancestors, that's who enslaved them. That's why most of us have English or, that part of Europe last names, and even though, part of my family, we have Irish in there. Part of that Irish was in Cuba. So how do you think that happened? That wasn't a free-spirited relationship either. The Irish just didn't happen to own slaves in this country. But in Cuba, they were the ones who were out in the fields. They were the bosses. We are learning our history over here. The sad thing for us is that whatever our history was before our ancestors came to this continent was stolen from us. And some of us, I truly do believe, are part of those lost tribes. So if the, Hebrews, because that's what they were, the Hebrew people are not the same as as the Jews. And I think that was what he was saying, Nick Cannon, and that's where there was an issue. You know, I don't think there's any careful way to say that truth. You know, I've talked about it on here. It's the biggest deception of the 20th century. You know, and the whole world is in on it. The whole world is in on it, including the country that we live in. You know, and even on the continent, those who were left behind, as we say, don't really have control of the majority of that continent. Countries like France do. It's disgusting to me what has happened to Black people as a whole across the world. And so, our friend Nick Cannon, he will be fine. Personally, I'm surprised that he has stayed in the game this long, because he didn't just wake up, you know, a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, when he had Tariq Nasheed on his show in regards to certain things that he was talking about. You know, Nick is an educated, you know, dude. I mean, dude actually went back to school and got his degree. So kudos to him from Howard. Yeah. In my mom's family, that is what it is. It's Cherokee in my mom's family. My grandmother, my mother's mother, was very fair-skinned when she was a young woman, so fair-skinned that she could pass. But by the time she was an old woman, you could see all of the Indian started coming out of her. She became red, you know, but she kept that nickname from a younger lady, Pinky. Y'all know that movie from that nickname that lady had in that movie? Well, they called a lot of light-skinned Black women in the South that could probably pass Pinky. But my grandmother had a lot of Indian in her. My dad's mother did too. But I don't think that it was Cherokee in my dad's family. I think it was Navajo or something else. But it is interesting, you know, there are those among us who do have Indianness, and then there's other people in us that don't. It's just that whatever part of Africa our ancestors came from had different, you know, phenotype. Not all Africans have wide spaced nose. That's a myth. There are certain tribes that have the skinnier noses, have, you know, with the higher cheekbones, similar, you know, to the Native Americans. And we already know that not all people who are dark-skinned or people of color are Black. You know, you got people from India and places like Sri Lanka that are darker than me, darker than my son, you know, darker than most Black people, but they're not Black. They're melanated. You know, and our friend Nick simply was making what any educated person, conversation was about the people in the Bible. That's what he was talking about. And as I've told you before, if you actually look at the full history of how, they came from, where they came from, then they migrated into Russia. And that's how they came into Europe. But that's not where they originated. But they did not originate on the continent, because that's where the Hebrews originated from. They came out of the land of Canaan and Samaria, all of these places. That's where they actually came from. And as I said, for some Black people and some people of color, that is their lost history. But they don't know it. They don't know it. And, someone like Nick Cannon saying the things he said, if you have a problem with that, because it's, not what you believe is the history. So here we're going in, these paths and everything, because people are making a confusion between a religion and a nation of people. And that's not the same. And I think that was the distinction that Nick Cannon was making. He was making that distinction. We speak Spanish. Yo hablo español. Y inglés. I speak both. And there's many people here that do. And not everybody that is bilingual and speaks English and Spanish is necessarily, ethnically Latino. But a lot of people speak Spanish here. And see, that's the funny thing. It's like in this country, we expect everyone to speak English. But when we go to other countries, we also expect people to speak English. Is that not insane? You go to Africa, and granted, in a lot of the African countries, people learn English. The rest of the world does learn English, but they learn it to accommodate us because we're too lazy to learn other languages. Learn some Spanish, learn some French, learn some Japanese, learn some Korean, learn something other than English. English should not be the only language that you know. You should know something in some other languages. It's just expanding your knowledge. 45 is ignorant, though. And you guys have seen the polls. You've seen the polls. The polls have Biden double digits ahead of him. But it's July. And November is still a long ways away. And as I've said before, both of them have issues when it comes to people with melanated skin. Now, Biden is trying to convince us that, he is not that person anymore, where he was back then, yada, 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 and everything. And people like Kamala Harris, who had false indignation with him. Now, what she was saying was valid points, but her having the indignation with Joe Biden is so laughable when she has nothing. She don't care about Black men, because when she was the state attorney for California, it's like she got a quote unquote hard on to keep our Black men incarcerated and to incarcerate them. She was full on with the stacking of charges. She helped to perpetuate that broken judicial system in California. So I have nothing nice to say about her. And hopefully she's not on his short list. And then the other ignorant thing that 45 said today, or he has said in the last couple of days, is that, well, it wasn't him. I take that back. It wasn't him who said it. Someone else was criticizing the way that we were handling things. And I think it might have been Fauci. But this is on y'all. They said that our issue is that we should have handled things the way many of the European countries handled it. We never, ever went to a complete shutdown. I mean, they literally shut everything down except for the hospitals. That's what they did. Unlike us. And now, in every state in this country, including Alaska, it's just, the cases are just soaring. Like every day, California beats its record from the day before. That's not a good thing. And none of this is reflecting good on a president who keeps, feeding us sugar plum fairy stories about what's really going on. I just wish that he would just be forthright. If he would just be forthright. Like, look, this is an issue. We need to start, we need to do something to get it under control. Stop telling people to wait for this vaccine. At least most of the school districts in California and in other states that I've checked out have enough brains. These people are caring about our children. They are not listening to this foolish, head of the Department of Education and putting our children in classrooms all day long with masks on to try to prevent the spread, because they feel it's imperative for in-person teaching. Now, I know that this is an inconvenience for many, many parents. I know it is. I know that it is. And I do think that in some form or fashion, the school districts have to do something, to help so that some parents are able to go to work at least part-time during the day. However, I feel that it would do more harm than good if we pushed all the kids into the classroom. That's my personal feeling. And my son is not even school age. I'm just thinking about all those kids that are out there. And I'm thinking about the kids with autism, who I really think that not being in a classroom setting and learning sometimes may be hard for a lot of them, especially if they have not been mainstreamed. I'm learning some Japanese, Matt. Some of the Japanese words are very similar to English or Spanish words. Like pan is bread in Japanese. And what is the word for spoon? Or and fork is fuck. F-O-K. And yeah, and it can sound like I'm saying something else, but it's fuck. It's the way you pronounce it. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of parents don't want their kids to be in the classroom. Here's the thing. Even if the children don't show symptoms, the possibility of them either being asymptomatic and spreading it among themselves and then among teachers who may be high risk because they're older or other staff, you know, and how much are they going to learn in that situation? Now, I know some of the universities are going to do a combination of in-person and online, depending on which school it is. I know that USC, where I went to college, is doing all online for the fall semester. From what I understand, UCLA is doing the same thing. And I've heard that a majority of the Cal State and UC schools in California are doing that, as well as, you know, places like Stanford. And I've heard the same similar about schools on the East Coast, like Harvard and, you know, Columbia. And even with the HBCUs. Thankfully, one good thing that 45 did was he did pull off the brakes on trying to force foreign students who were going to be attending school online to go back to their home countries. Why? They're going to school. So, but there's still a bunch of students that are suing. Still a bunch of them are suing. They've got lawyers and they're suing because, you know, his mood might change tomorrow and then he'll put it back on. You don't know with this president. You don't know what he's going to do. He's very temperamental. You know, but I Darren, I know this is your president, you know, but I mean, he is the president of the country. You know, would love to see him do some changing, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And, you know, it's unfortunate that when this first started, when we first started dealing with this, that he didn't take it seriously. And that he tried to blame it on the Democrats. And, you know, my feeling is that nothing has been handled from the very beginning anyway. And that was good. Other than when we did the shutdown, now that was painful for most of us. You know, and now people are being rolled back into shutdown in some places. And I know that that's painful. We went through it, not being able to hardly go out the house. It was crazy. You know, now there is some leniency, but nobody wants to wear a damn mask. Like, what the hell? Just wear the damn mask. How hard is that? I mean, businesses are jumping through all these hoops just so they can stay open. Like, you guys have seen, like in places like here in California, restaurants have literally taken all their stuff and put it on outside, and that's their restaurants now. And they're doing this so that they can stay open. And the poor barbers and beauticians have now been put back on lockdown in California. I don't know what other states are doing in regards to that. I know that some other states have closed down their bars and restaurants. I know Florida did. They should have. It's horrible. But I don't know. Now I kind of understand when I see what the low-income housing looks like in Florida. Gee. Their low-income housing looks like regular housing in other places. And this is what they call the projects. It's hilarious. It was hilarious. You know. Hi, Amir. How are you? But it's been interesting watching all the stuff that's going on. I just, you know, the mask, make it a fashion statement if you got to. But when you're out in public, especially if you're in states that have now made it mandatory, just put the freaking mask on. It's not that hard. Don't want to wear a mask, stay home. Don't go out. It's that simple. Don't go around anybody else. Just stay home. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, this is just such the weirdest year with people on lockdown orders, you know, everybody getting sick around the country, dealing with the police brutality. And even though they're not talking about it, y'all know that there are still protests going on. You know that there's still looting and craziness going on. I have a friend that is in Oregon that's telling me that Portland is going crazy. There's some crazy group that's in Portland that does all kinds of insanity as far as the looting and everything and catching stuff on fire. And they're, you know, saying that it's Black Lives Matter that's doing all of that stuff. And that's going on in Portland. But have any of you seen that on the news? I certainly haven't. You got to go Google it. If you want to find out what's actually going on around the country, that's what you have to find. You have to do that because they're not going to show it to us anymore. They don't want us to see it. They want us to forget about what's going on. It's really hard to forget what's going on, though. It's really hard. And then this is an election year where we have to think about how we actually feel about the last almost 4 years. Do we feel that our country is in a better position today than it was 4 years ago? Do we think it's gone backwards? Or do we think it's the same? It's definitely not the same to me. You know, I mean, it's not. I do think that because of this global situation that happened, that we probably are seeing a lot of stuff that we probably wouldn't have seen with 45 had that not happened. So I don't know if that's going to change people's opinion of him who voted for him 4 years ago. I'm just going to be very honest about that. I don't know if it's going to change their opinion. Again, because although Mr. Biden may not be as, awful a choice, is he really that much better? I'm just saying, is he really that much better? And I mean, this week we've had in several states, they had their primaries. And we're hearing hardly anything about those things that are going on. We really got to listen, because they keep putting all kinds of distractors out there on us. Like, I personally feel that the situation with Nick Cannon is being put out there as a distractor. Now, the question is, what are they trying to distract us from? That's what the question is. What are they trying to distract us from? I don't know, y'all. I don't know what they're trying to distract us from. But I know that the situation with our friend Nick Cannon is not the main attraction. I know that this is a distraction. I know that much. We don't need to worry about Nick. Nick gonna be okay. Nick is standing 10 toes down in his truth, as far as I can see. And my only thing is that he needs to get all of his property, his intellectual property, from Viacom. He needs to get his intellectual property from them. I know somebody that I think they still might actually work for them. One of their lawyers. But I'm not going to call her about this. Because she's a person of color. And she ain't the head honcho. But she does deal in this entertainment law situation over there at Viacom. I do know that's who she works for. She's worked for him for years. Let me see what you said, Matt. You vote for Dave Chappelle. He could be him. Child, Dave ain't trying to even get. Dave, if a comedian, see, that's the thing, some of these comedians, they have so much, they're so intelligent, and they put out such critical points about things that are going on. Especially, Dave Chappelle is one of my favorites. I eat up anything he says. It was a drought for the 10 years that he wasn't doing nothing. He had just turned his back on us. And it really, he just was tired of everything that was going on. And it's like, with the police brutality and all the stuff that happened with George Floyd, he felt he had to say something. But it was all, he had been saying this all along. most of the woke, comics have been talking about this in their comedy, because that's the thing. They could break that wall and do that, and now because of where we are, they're not feeling it censored. But Dave ain't running for president. Y'all, somebody pray that Kanye is not serious about running for it in 4 years, y'all. Told y'all. Him and his friend 50 Cent are two sides of the same coin. Ain't no good coming from either one of those people. Ain't no good coming from either one of those people. Kanye is a lost cause. 50 been a lost cause. We knew that back when. Any man who would disrespect his own child the way that he did, y'all know he said some stuff about people on the autism spectrum a couple of years ago. So I've been canceled this fool. I've been canceled him. So anything that comes out of his mouth, who cares? Just talking, and he's saying stuff to Will about this situation from back then. You better watch out. Shh. Just telling you, because Will's likely to come and whoop that tail. That's what's likely to happen. The situation with them, it is what it is. I told y'all that yesterday. We talk about it. Everybody's talking about it. New things are coming out, but I would be surprised if he did not stay with his wife, his partner. Because, while we're all, like I said, tripping off this whole situation, people are going in on Jada. And we know that if a man had done this and the chick had come out, we would not be going in as much. We would not get as much. I'm not on camera yet, David. I know you're trying to come over and get on camera. I'm not on camera.
Okay.
Y'all know he's trying to come on camera. Because I'm on the laptop tonight. I'm not on the mobile phone. I'm actually sitting in the chat on my phone tonight. But I love how the comics are just saying it like it is. But why would I say that? We got a reality TV star as a president, so I guess a comedian could be a president. So could a rapper, just not the one who's talking about running. Kanye has a lot going on up inside of his head, and I believe that he artistically is a genius when it comes to the music and stuff, and he has a lot, but I don't think that no. Just no, okay? It's just a joke to me that he's even talking about it. I take him going to law school and becoming a lawyer more seriously than I take Kanye running for president. I'm just going to put it like that. And then, right now there's all these rumors swirling around that they might get a divorce. Oh no, you just gotta vote. Yeah, I'm telling people, please don't not vote. Please don't not vote. That is what happened 4 years ago. People did not vote. And they didn't vote in the states where it counted. You know, those electorals that certain people needed. I mean, if the presidency was off of the popular vote, it would have been Hillary. Same thing when Bush was running against Al Gore. Same thing. But that's not the way we run this country. We run this country doing the popular vote to the electoral college. And the electoral are supposed to cast their vote based on our popular vote. And they have now made it a rule that they cannot vote the way they want to. They used to be able to vote however they wanted, no matter what we did. No. They can't do that. So your vote is very, very important. Because if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. I say what I feel because I vote.
That happened.
And yeah, I'm looking for anybody but our current president. Because for me, he has not been a good president. For me personally, that's my feeling. So, the issues that I care about are not things that he cares about. And one of the issues that I care about are people on the autism spectrum. And whoever's going to be the leader of this country needs to care about that. Because every year, a bunch of them age out, become adults, have the right to vote. My son has the right to vote. All he has to do is be registered and he can vote. That's it. Same thing for all of these other adults on the spectrum. They can vote. And they are the largest group of people who we consider to be disabled or different thinkers because they are considered non-neurotypical. However, a lot of people with autism are considered twice exceptional, meaning they have autism and then they have some other thing that they are really, really good at. Like my son has perfect pitch when it comes to music, and he has perfect recall of music. If he hears something, he remembers it. And exactly what it's like a little tape recorder, he can sing the notes. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, Matt. No one should. Some of those smaller states are very, very. It's very, very important for the people in those states to vote. And I know that there have been some issues in some of those states with people being able to vote. Yeah, people in Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, that Midwest belt of those, a lot of those are the states that used to be blue and they suddenly turned red for the presidential election. I don't know what's going to happen in this one. Right now, it's like a 51 to 37%. According to one of the recent polls. But that's nothing. Because then there's all these people who aren't voting. That doesn't add up to 100%. That means there's a huge, wide margin of people who still have not made up their mind. Not made up their mind whether they want 4 more years of what we have now. You know, a president who does not listen to his people, who didn't even realize that he's also the president for places like, I don't know, Puerto Rico. You know, remember back when they had the hurricane? Yeah, that. Told the governor to go talk to their president. Governor had to tell him that he is their president too. Like, what? He doesn't understand that the United States is not just the United States. It's Puerto Rico. You know, I think we have the U.S. Samoa Islands. We have U.S. Virgin Islands. All of that is also the United States. They're called territories. That was really shocking. You know, to me, that's like, this man, what? Were you sleeping in your political science classes and your history classes? I just wonder. We all knew this back in high school. Elementary school, really. You know, knew what year Hawaii became the 50th state. And yes, I'm quite aware that my hometown, our nation's capital, wants to become the 51st state. How do I feel about that as a native Washingtonian? I do feel some kind of way about that. I do understand that they want the representation because they're taxed without actually having representation. They're not able to vote on anything. I totally get that part. I totally get that part. However, I like being from the capital of this country that's not a state. I like being from Washington, D.C., and knowing that I wasn't born in a state. I like that. It's a unique thing. It's a unique thing for us. You know, our birth certificates look different. They have a different kind of stamp on them. You know, and it says it on our passports. No matter where we live in this country, our passports still are going to say that we were born in Washington, D.C. And most of us who were born in Washington, D.C., our social security numbers tell you that that's where we're from, even if we don't live there anymore. Because y'all know that, like, the social security numbers, they go by state, and then, you know, D.C. has their little allotment as well. But I don't know how, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But I've been on here for over an hour. So I'm going to come on here so you guys can see me real quick before I get off of here. My hair looks crazy, so sorry. That's all I'm going to say. Sorry, my hair looks crazy. Before I get on camera. What's that? All right, so let's see. Hey, everyone. Yeah, I know Indiana's been red. All right, come on over. He wants to come say hi to y'all. Say hi.
Hi. Hi.
Say hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Okay. Is that all you want to do? Is that it? Is that it? Okay. He likes to do that for you guys. I don't know why. But thank you guys for coming. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight. I know I was just going on and on all these different things. Y'all know how I do. But I will be back. Tomorrow is Friday. Thank God. Maybe I'll talk about what's going on with whether I'm going to still be here or whether I'm going to be moving someplace else. Maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow. But I'm going to get off here now because I got an early day tomorrow. And I will see y'all then. Until then, I offer you guys peace and blessings from the West Side. Everybody have a cool and safe evening. And remember, mask up. See you guys. Bye.